Hello, everyone. Let us talk about a really important topic, date tables. Let me take you through the documentation first. Now, Microsoft on its website clearly states that if you want to do any calculations on DAX, which are time intelligence calculations, there is a prerequisite, which means that it's a mandatory requirement. You must have at least one date table in your model. Now, you must be wondering, we didn't use a date table before, right? When we were creating all those visualizations. And you're not completely wrong because when I make a column chart and I put my order date on the x-axis, you notice that it does work. I am able to see the sales for all the years, all the quarters, all the month, all the day. So the question remains, why exactly do we need a date table when the inbuilt date column is working perfectly? Now here's the thing. If you want to do any calculations, which would be any one of these time intelligence functions, closing balance, month, quarter, year, date add, between, dates in period, dates MTD, QTD, YTD, end of month, quarter, year, first date, non-blank, last date, non-blank, next day, month, quarter, year, opening balance, month, quarter, year, parallel period, previous day, month, quarter, year, same period last year, start of month, quarter, year, total MTD, QTD, YTD. For any one of these functions, if you use the inbuilt date, that means if you use the order date, it will not work. Now, why doesn't it work? Because if you want to do calculations, you need to have a date table that meets all these conditions. It must be a date column. It must contain unique values. It must not contain blanks, must not have any missing dates, and must be a complete year. For example, Jan to December, April to March, July to June. So this link will be there in the PowerPoint in case you want to have a look at it. You should read it, but don't bother too much with it because you just have to remember this, that this is one of the first things you should do whenever you're working on any data set in which you expect to do some date calculations. Now, why is it that the profit margin and these dynamic titles all worked? Because they were not using any date and time calculations, right? Okay, now how do we make one? Now the link is already there on the PowerPoint. So it has been explained how to create a simple date table in DAX. And the code is readily available here. I will just copy it. We will come back. But we don't want to make a measure. Remember, a measure is going to give you a single value like a profit margin. Right now, we want to create an entire table. Hence, I will first go to the data view where we had gone before as well. But when I go to table tools, we will not select measure. We will not select column. We want to select the final option, which is a new table. So I click on this and we simply press Ctrl V to paste the code. Now, if you look at these red underline, these two are the only things that I need to change. So my order date has to be replaced with the order date that is coming from our data, which is orders compact order date. The same goes for the second line as well. Like this. Everything else remains the same. Now, before we press enter, let me just give you a broad idea explaining to you how this works. So calendar auto, which is on line number 7, creates a complete list of dates, but you can't control the min and the max date. Because we want to control the min and the max as well, we are creating two variables, one for the minimum year, one for the maximum year. And then we are filtering our complete date and ensuring it only falls between the min and the max year. And then finally, we are adding a few extra columns. So we want the calendar year, the month name, and the month number. This, of course, was a very quick explanation. But if you want to see this in more detail, then you can all go through this article where everything has been explained beautifully. But for now, I just want to click on enter. And I notice we get our date table like this. But our job is not done. We still have to go to the model view, something we haven't done so far. And in the model view, I will simply select my order date, click it, hold it, and then drag it on top of the date. And this is how we create a relationship. In this case, we have created a one-is-to-many relationship. Now, these two things, creating the date table and connecting it, has to be done every single time. Also, you will notice that when I link it with the order date, my order date is not a date anymore. If you notice carefully, the date icon is not appearing. It is appearing on the ship date, but not on the order date. Which means that when I go back to the report, now my order date will not work and should not be used. Now I should replace my order date with the date like this. Now, obviously the result isn't anything different. This is what we were getting earlier as well. But then this is something you have to do, because after this, when we start to do calculations using the date functions, we would not have been able to do the calculations correctly if we use the inbuilt date. That is the reason we have to make the date table.